Imagine this. It's 8 p.m. on a Friday, and you're staring at your to-do list, your phone buzzing with notifications, your inbox overflowing. You feel like you've worked nonstop, but looking back, you can't recall accomplishing anything that truly matters. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In a world screaming for our attention, the real challenge isn't simply getting things done. It's doing the right things that propel us toward our greatest vision of life. That's what this chapter is about. Together, we're going to unlock the secret language of prioritization, the art of focusing on what truly moves the needle. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Sarah. She was a small business owner, a mother of two, and an aspiring artist. She told me, "I feel like I'm constantly running, but I never get anywhere." Her days were filled with urgent tasks, emails, grocery shopping, soccer practices, and client calls. Yet, she had forgotten how to paint. Her long-term goal, building a sustainable creative business, felt like a fading dream. Sound like anyone you know? Including you? Sarah's story isn't just relatable, it's a mirror for all of us. She had fallen into the trap of confusing busy with productive. The first step to mastering priorities? A simple yet revolutionary tool called the Eisenhower Matrix. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th U.S. president, once said, "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important." Let's break this down. Picture a square divided into 4 quadrants. The x-axis asks, is it urgent? The y-axis asks, is it important? Now you have 4 categories. 1. Quadrant 1, urgent and important, crises, deadlines, emergencies. 2. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important, planning, exercise, building relationships. 3. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important, interruptions, some emails, busy work. 4. Quadrant 4, neither urgent nor important, time wasting, scrolling mindlessly. Here's the truth. Most of us are trapped in Quadrant 3 and 4, reacting to life instead of designing it. Effective people live in Quadrant 2. Why? Because this is where high-impact work happens. This is where you plan, create, and invest in your long-term goals. Sarah realized she spent 80% of her time in Quadrant 1 and 3. She was constantly rushing to meet client demands, urgent, and getting distracted by social media, not important. But when she shifted 30 minutes a day to Quadrant 2, sketching, outlining her art business strategy, scheduling deep work time, something shifted. Within 6 months, she launched an online art course that brought in more income than her client work. She had rediscovered her power. So how do you start? Right now, grab a pen and paper or open a document. List 10 things you're working on this week. Sort them into the 4 quadrants. Here's your challenge. Eliminate Quadrant 4 tasks entirely. Delegate or batch Quadrant 3 tasks. Protect Quadrant 2 with your life. And schedule Quadrant 1 only when it's truly unavoidable. But let's talk about another game changer, habit stacking. Imagine building habits that don't feel like extra work, but rather natural extensions of your existing routine. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, calls it tying new behaviors to existing ones. For example, if you want to meditate daily, stack it with brushing your teeth. After I brush my teeth in the morning, I will spend 2 minutes meditating. Here's where it gets even more powerful. When you couple habit stacking with the Eisenhower Matrix, you create a system that automates productivity. Let's say your Quadrant 2 goal is to read 20 pages of a leadership book this week. Stack it to a current habit. After I make my morning coffee, I will read 5 pages. Suddenly, you're not just crossing things off a list, you're engineering your day to serve your highest priorities. Now, I want you to visualize your perfect day. What are the 3 non-negotiable activities you must include? For me, it's journaling, a strategic planning session, and a gratitude call with a mentor. These aren't tasks I find time for. They're built into my routine because they fuel everything else. This is what it means to align daily actions with long-term goals. Let's talk about task overload. Have you ever felt overwhelmed and said, I just need more hours in the day? I've been there. But here's the truth. You don't need more time. You need to allocate time smarter. Every urgent task that pulls you away from your important work is a thief. Ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now moving me closer to my vision? If the answer is no, shut it down. Be brutal. Here's a story of resilience. A friend of mine, David, ran a tech startup during the 2020 pandemic. His team was drowning in urgent fires, server outages, client complaints, investor pressure. But David decided to block 1 hour a week for Quadrant 2, analyzing market trends, brainstorming long-term product ideas, and mentoring his team. That hour became their secret weapon. When competitors focused only on survival, David's team pivoted swiftly to a new niche, tripling their revenue in a year. Small acts of intentional focus, when sustained, create seismic change. So here's your blueprint. First, master the Eisenhower matrix to filter your tasks. Second, use habit stacking to anchor your priorities into your daily flow. Third, ruthlessly eliminate anything that doesn't serve your highest goals. And finally, remember, productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things again and again until they become who you are. Let me leave you with this. Imagine standing at the finish line of your life, looking back at the path you've taken. You'll realize that the moments you chose to paint, to plan, to invest in relationships, to build habits, those are what made you. Not the frantic checking of boxes, not the rush to please everyone, but the quiet, deliberate choices that said, I choose my future over my fear. So right now, take a deep breath, clear your mind, then take one small step. Grab a piece of paper, draw the matrix, and sort your tasks. Or set a reminder to stack a new habit tomorrow. Progress starts with intention, and I'm cheering for you every step of the way. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, staring at a path that disappears into the mist. That's what embracing a growth mindset feels like. It's the courage to step forward even when the destination isn't clear, trusting that every misstep is just a lesson in disguise. You see, the most effective people in the world don't succeed because they're fearless. They succeed because they believe failure is just feedback. And today, we're going to unlock that mindset together. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Maria. Maria was a software engineer who'd just been passed over for a promotion. Her response? Instead of wallowing in self-doubt, she sent her manager a question. What skills do I need to master to earn this role? She didn't see rejection as a dead end. She saw it as a map. A year later, she wasn't just promoted. She became the team lead. How? She treated every setback as a puzzle to solve, not a problem to escape. That's the essence of a growth mindset. Seeing potential where others see limits. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you avoided a challenge because you feared failure? Maybe it was asking for a raise, starting a side hustle, or learning a new skill. Your instinct might be to protect your ego, to say, I'm not good at this, and walk away. But here's the truth. A growth mindset isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most curious. Let's break it down. A growth mindset thrives on 3 pillars. 1. Embracing challenges as invitations to grow. 2. Learning from failure like a scientist, not a critic. 3. Maintaining relentless curiosity, even when the world tells you to stop. Take J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter changed the world. Or Kobe Bryant, who famously said, I can accept failure, everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. These aren't just stories, they're blueprints. The difference between them and the rest of us, they didn't let failure define them, they let it refine them. Here's how you start today. Reframe your language. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, replace it with, what can I learn here? When you say, I'm not good at this, try, I'm not good at this yet. That single word, yet, creates a bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Next, document your journey of failure. I challenge you to write down one failure this week and ask, what did this teach me? Maybe you botched a presentation. Great. What nerves can you calm next time? Maybe you couldn't stick to a workout routine. Perfect. What systems can you build to stay consistent? The goal isn't to punish yourself for missteps. It's to weaponize them. And let's talk about curiosity, the lifeblood of a growth mindset. Effective people don't wait for inspiration. They hunt for knowledge. I know a CEO who spends 90 minutes every Sunday reading or taking courses unrelated to his industry. Why? Because he believes the next big idea often comes from outside your comfort zone. So ask yourself, What's one new skill, habit, or perspective you've been ignoring? Start there. But let's get practical. Here's a 3-step strategy to wire a growth mindset into your daily life. Step 1. Start small. Commit to one learning experiment this week. Maybe it's practicing public speaking with a friend or studying a competitor's moves. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Step 2. Find your yet. Identify one area where you feel stuck. That's your starting line. Step 3. Celebrate the process. When you show up with courage, reward yourself. Not just for successes, but for the grit to keep trying. Let me leave you with this. A growth mindset is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you choose curiosity over comfort, you're not just overcoming a fear. You're building a legacy. You're proving that your potential isn't fixed. It's limitless. So here's your call to action. When life throws you a curveball, don't dodge it. Step up to the plate. Ask, how can this challenge help me evolve? When you stumble, dust yourself off and ask, what did I learn about myself today? And when you feel the weight of the world pulling you back, remember Maria, remember Rawling, remember the countless others who turned setbacks into comebacks. This isn't just a chapter in a book. It's your invitation to rewrite your story. A story where failure isn't the end, but the beginning of reinvention. So take a deep breath, lean into the unknown, and remember, the moment you stop growing is the moment you stop living. Now go out there and grow like hell. Imagine waking up each day not with a jolt of stress or the blare of an alarm, but with intention, your mind clear, your body energized, and your soul aligned with the best version of yourself. This is the power of a transformative morning and evening routine. You see, my friend, routines aren't about restriction. They're the invisible scaffold that holds your dreams in place. They're the silent architects of who you become. And today, we're going to uncover how to build rituals that set you up for success, not just in tasks, but in life itself. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Elena. She was a high-powered executive, drowning in chaos. Her days were a blur of deadlines and meetings, and her nights ended with exhaustion and regret. I want to be more present for my family, she told me, but I never have time. I challenged her to try a simple experiment. Spend 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night doing something meaningful for herself. No emails, no distractions, just her and her intentions. At first, she resisted. Who has time for that? She argued. But she gave it a shot. Her morning ritual? A 5-minute meditation, a 5-minute walk outside, and a 5-minute journaling session to write down her top 3 priorities for the day. Her evening ritual? Reviewing what she achieved, reflecting on 2 things that went well, and 1 lesson she'd carry forward. Within weeks, something shifted. She started showing up for her team, her family, and, most importantly, herself. By anchoring her day with clarity and closing it with reflection, she transformed her life. This is the magic of routines. They create stability in a world of change. The science backs this up. Studies show that habits formed through consistent routines become wired into your brain's neural pathways. The more you repeat a behavior, the easier it becomes, until it's not even a choice anymore. But here's the secret. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means small, deliberate acts done every single day. Let's break it down. Your morning is your most valuable hour. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. I'm not here to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m. unless you want to. And honestly, some of the most driven people I know start their day with the first light of dawn. But whatever your morning looks like, it should include 3 essential elements: clarity, preparation, and activation. Clarity is your anchor. It's the pause between sleeping and living. This could be a quick meditation, a prayer, or even a moment of stillness where you set your intention for the day. Preparation is about physically and mentally readying yourself for success. Lay out your clothes. Have your lunch prepped. Review your schedule. The goal? Eliminate decision fatigue. And activation. This is the fuel that ignites your day. It could be a burst of high-intensity exercise, a dance party in your living room, or a cold shower to shock your system into alertness. Now, let's step into the evening. This is where most people drop the ball. They collapse into the couch with their smartphones, letting the day slip into oblivion. But the evening is your opportunity to reflect, reset, and restore. A powerful evening routine might look like this. Wind down your physical body with a stretch or a walk. Quiet your mind with journaling or gratitude reflection, and disconnect from screens at least 30 minutes before bed. Here's what science says. People who end their day with reflection sleep better, perform better, and feel more in control of their lives. When you take a moment to review what worked and what didn't, you're not just closing the day, you're opening the door for tomorrow's growth. But how do you build routines that stick? Let's talk science again. The habit loop, cue, routine, reward, is your roadmap. For example, if your cue is the moment you open your eyes, your routine could be reaching for your journal, and your reward is a sense of calm as you write your intentions. Over time, your brain connects the cue, waking up, with the reward, peace of mind, making the habit automatic. And here's the truth. Your routines should be uniquely yours. Don't copy what works for someone else unless it aligns with your values. Maybe you're not a morning person, but you thrive in the evening. Maybe your ritual is a 3-minute stretch and a sip of warm water in the morning. Let your habits reflect your personality. The key is consistency, not complexity. Let me challenge you here. Start small. Too many people try to overhaul their entire life at once, burn out, and quit. Instead, pick one morning action and one evening action that take 5 minutes total. Maybe it's a morning stretch and a 5-minute reflection before bed. Once those become second nature, build on them. And remember, progress is not linear. You'll have days when you miss your routine, and that's okay. The moment you feel off track is not the time for judgment. It's the time to gently return. Routines aren't about being perfect. They're about showing up for yourself again and again, even when you'd rather not. You're not just building habits. You're building a lifestyle. A life where you feel empowered, not overwhelmed. Where your mornings fill you with purpose and your evenings bring you peace. So I ask you now, what's one small step you can take today to design a morning and evening routine that transforms your life? Is it writing down your goals first thing in the morning? Is it reading one page of a book before bed? The choice is yours. But act now, because the most powerful habit you can have is the courage to begin. Your future self will thank you. Every moment of discipline is a debt paid to yourself. Every morning you show up with clarity is a gift to your potential. Keep going, champion. The world needs your best. And with routines that anchor your momentum, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Chapter 4. The Power of Continuous Learning. You know what separates the truly successful people from the rest? It's not their intelligence, their connections, or even their resources. It's their relentless hunger to learn. Effective people don't view learning as a phase you go through in school. No, they treat it as a lifelong journey, a daily habit that fuels their growth, sharpens their minds, and opens doors you never imagined possible. Let me share a story that's been a source of inspiration to millions. Thomas Edison, the man behind the light bulb, wasn't just a genius. He was a student of the world. By the age of 12, he had built his own chemistry lab in a train depot. By 16, he was self-taught in physics and calculus. He didn't stop there. Even after inventing over 1,000 patents, he'd wake up before dawn to read scientific journals and tinker with experiments. When a reporter once asked him why he kept learning so intensely, he replied, "I never let school interfere with my education." That, my friend, is the essence of continuous learning. Now ask yourself, are you learning more each week than you did last year? If the answer is no, you're not just stagnating. You're falling behind. The world is changing at a speed we've never seen before. Technologies that disrupt industries emerge overnight. Entire careers become obsolete, while new ones spring to life. The only way to stay relevant, to stay powerful, is to never stop evolving. Let's break this down into actionable habits. First, daily reading. I want you to commit to one simple practice. Set aside 30 minutes a day, first thing in the morning, during your lunch break, or before bed, to read something that challenges and expands you. It could be a book on strategy, a research paper, or even a thought-provoking article. Bill Gates, one of the most influential minds of our time, famously reads 50 books a year. That's just one a week. He reads deeply, takes notes, and discusses ideas with people. He calls it hanging out with smart people on paper, and it's one of the reasons he's always 3 steps ahead. But here's the thing, it's not about speed or volume, it's about consistency. The habit of daily reading compounds like compound interest. A bit here, a bit there, and 5 years from now, you'll be reading at a level most people only dream of. So pick up that book. Start today. Second, seek feedback relentlessly. This is where most people stumble. We avoid criticism because it's uncomfortable. But here's a secret. The people who dominate their fields are obsessed with feedback. They treat it as fuel. Let me give you an example. A young software engineer named Sarah joined a tech startup 5 years ago. She was talented, but stuck. Projects were slow, and her code kept getting rejected. Instead of defending herself, she did something radical. She created a Feedback Friday ritual. Every Friday, she'd ask her team, "What should I do more of? What should I stop doing? What can I learn?" At first, it was brutal. Her inbox filled with comments she didn't want to hear. But over time, something magical happened. She adapted. She improved. Within 3 years, she became the lead developer of a billion-dollar app. You see, feedback is the mirror that shows you the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Don't just seek it once a year during a performance review. Make it a daily, weekly habit. Ask for feedback on your ideas, your communication style, your decision-making. Surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth. Not sugar-coated, but truthful. And then do what most people are too scared to do. Listen. Actually listen. And then act. Third, embrace new methodologies. The most successful people don't cling to the same strategies forever. They're always experimenting. They stay curious. Let me give you a real-world example. In the late 2000s, Netflix was in trouble. They were a DVD rental company, and the whole world thought they'd fail when streaming took off. But Netflix didn't double down on DVDs. Instead, they reinvented themselves. They invested in a brand new model, streaming. Then, when they saw the future in original content, they reinvented themselves again. By adopting new methodologies and not clinging to the old ways, they became one of the most valuable companies on the planet. Here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, pick one new skill or method to learn. It could be a software tool, a productivity system, or even a language. Don't just read about it. Apply it. Test it. Adjust it. Let failure be part of the process. Every time you try something new, you're not just acquiring knowledge. You're building the mental flexibility to adapt in a world that's changing faster than you can imagine. But here's the heart of this chapter. Learning must be integrated into your daily life. Not as a chaotic sprint, but as a smooth, ongoing rhythm. You wake up, you read. You work, you reflect, you eat, you podcast. Every moment is a chance to grow. Now, let me leave you with this. Continuous learning isn't about being perfect. It's about being progressive. It's about showing up each day with the mindset that you're not done yet, that there's always more to learn, that every chapter of your life is a setup for the next. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What new habit will I start tomorrow to level up my learning? 2. Who can give me honest feedback I need to hear? 3. What old way of thinking should I replace with a better one? Your answers will shape the person you become tomorrow, and that's how you stop being average. That's how you master your life. Continuous learning is the engine of greatness. Now go fuel yours. You've heard it said time is money, but what if I told you time is the one currency you can't earn more of? You can't trade an hour for more hours. It's finite, relentless, and yet, for many of us, it slips through our fingers like sand. But here's the truth. Mastery over time isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. In this chapter, we're diving deep into strategies that will transform how you think about, interact with, and ultimately conquer your days. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a friend named Sarah. She was a high school teacher, an artist, and a part-time student, yet she constantly felt overwhelmed. She'd stay up late grading papers, skip meals to meet deadlines, and cancel plans with friends because she never had enough hours in the day. One day, she confessed, "I feel like I'm drowning in tasks but making no progress." I asked her, "What if you treated your time like your most precious masterpiece? What if every minute was a brushstroke?" That's when we began experimenting with time management frameworks, Pomodoro, time blocking, and radical prioritization. Within weeks, Sarah wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She finished her degree early, painted her first gallery exhibit, and even started a blog. How? She stopped fighting time and started leading it. Let's start with the Pomodoro technique, a simple yet revolutionary method developed by Francesco Cirillo. Here's how it works. Pick one task, set a timer for 25 minutes, and work with obsessive focus until it dings. Then take a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, take a longer break. It sounds basic, but it rewires your brain to associate work with intense focus and breaks with earned rewards. Think of it as training your brain to enter flow state in sprints. I once coached a project manager named David, who used to procrastinate on client proposals. He tried Pomodoro and discovered something profound. When he limited himself to 25 minutes, the mental resistance vanished. The deadlines became friendly allies. He called it the magic of time boundaries. But here's what truly transforms time is time blocking. Imagine your day as a blank canvas. Instead of wandering from task to task, assign blocks of time to specific categories of work. Deep work, meetings, exercise, even reflection. I'll never forget the story of a doctor's assistant, Maria, who was barely getting through her 9 to 5. She began time blocking ruthlessly, 8 to 10 a.m. for patient files, her deep work zone, 10 to 11 a.m. for team meetings, and 1 to 2 p.m. for administrative tasks. Crucially, she also scheduled lunch and left the office to eat it. Within a month, she wasn't just more productive. She felt alive again. Her secret? Treating time like a committed partner, not an unpredictable stranger. Now, let's tackle the gremlin of procrastination. You're not lazy, you're human. Procrastination is your brain's way of avoiding discomfort. The solution? The 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. And for bigger tasks, break them into 2-minute chunks. That's how writer Haruki Murakami starts his day, with 5 pages, no matter how messy. He calls it the joy of the first page. You don't need motivation to begin. You need momentum. One step starts the avalanche. But let's face it, distractions are the modern thief of time. Notifications, chatter, even the siren call of social media. I want you to do something radical. Batch your interruptions. Turn off notifications for 3 straight hours. Schedule specific times to check emails. Designate a distraction corner in your workspace for quick breaks, then leave it the second your timer dings. A CEO I admire, Lisa, once admitted she used to check her phone 87 times a day. After installing an app that tracked her screen time, she redesigned her routine. Now she checks her phone only thrice daily, once after lunch, once after a workout, and once before bed. Guess what? Her productivity tripled. Her mind? Finally quiet. Yet here's where most people trip up. They confuse time management with workaholism. Let me be crystal clear. You cannot outrun balance. If you're sacrificing sleep, hobbies, or relationships to optimize time, you're failing the most important task of all, living fully. I'll share a secret with you. The most effective people aren't those who work 18 hours a day. It's those who protect their energy. They schedule self-care like non-negotiable meetings. They nap, they meditate, they say no. They understand that time isn't just about doing, it's about being. So here's your homework. Grab a blank calendar or launch that planning app. Audit how you're currently spending your hours. Are you investing in what matters? Then commit to one strategy this week. Pomodoro, time blocking, or batched focus. Start small. Track how it shifts your energy. And when you feel that familiar pull of chaos, remember Sarah, remember Maria, remember David, remember their story could be yours, rewritten. Time is the one resource no one can replenish. But with discipline, creativity, and courage, you can make it your greatest ally. You can reclaim your hours, rewrite your days, and build a life that doesn't just happen to you, it happens because of you. So I ask you, what will you create with the time you've been given? The canvas is yours. Now, go paint. Have you ever felt like you're chasing productivity in a vacuum, pushing harder and harder while spinning your wheels? What if the missing piece wasn't more discipline or better tools, but connection? Healthy habits don't thrive in isolation, my friend. They bloom in soil nourished by relationships. Today, we unlock the secrets of building strong, supportive networks that fuel your growth and keep you anchored when life gets stormy. Let me tell you about Maria. 5 years ago, Maria was a rising star in her field, but she was drowning. She worked 14-hour days, shut everyone out who called her for a coffee break or a heart-to-heart, and prided herself on being a lone wolf. But when burnout struck, she had no safety net, no mentor to guide her, no friends to remind her of her worth. It wasn't until she reached rock bottom that Maria realized success without support is just a house of cards waiting to collapse. She rebuilt her life by learning to lean on others and teaching others to lean on her in return. Today, she leads a thriving team where communication is an art, boundaries are respected, and relationships are the fuel for innovation. Maria didn't just survive, she thrived by rewriting the rules of connection. So how do we cultivate those relationships? Let's start with the bedrock: active listening. You've probably heard this before, but here's the twist. Listening isn't just about waiting for your turn to speak. It's about unconditional presence. Think of it like this. When someone is talking to you, they're handing you their world. You don't get to judge it. You don't get to fix it right away. You get to hold it. Try this. Next time someone speaks, give them the superpower of feeling heard. Nod. Reflect. Say things like, "What I hear you saying is," or "It sounds like this means a lot to you." People don't just want advice. They want to feel seen. Then there's the art of nurturing networks. Your relationships aren't a spreadsheet with ROI metrics. They're a garden. Some plants need daily tending, your mentors, your closest friends. Others bloom seasonally, colleagues you connect with over a project, family you call on holidays. The key is consistency paired with generosity. Send a voice note to your coach to thank them. Share an article with a peer that you think would challenge and inspire them. Ask someone, not "What's in it for me?" but "How can I help?" You'll find that the more you invest in others' growth, the more they'll invest in yours. And here's the truth we all need to hear. Boundaries are acts of love. Yes, I said it. Boundaries aren't walls. They're guardrails. Imagine driving on a winding road without any rails. Terrifying, right? That's what it's like for others and yourself. When you say yes to everything, overcommit and dissolve your energy into everyone but your goals. To set boundaries that work, say less "I can't" and more "what matters most." For example, instead of "I can't attend that networking event," try "I'd love to connect in a different setting. Let's schedule time this week that works for both of us." People respect clarity. You won't be loved for being perfect. You'll be respected for being intentional. Now, let's zoom out. How do these connections shape your habits? Think of your support system as a feedback loop for progress. When you share your goals with a friend who cheers you on, you're 50% more likely to stick to them. When your partner asks, "How are you really?" after a rough day, they're holding space for reflection, a habit that sharpens your resilience. I once worked with a CEO who transformed his productivity by hiring an accountability partner to call him daily and ask, "What's your biggest priority this week?" and "Who are you helping as you do it?" That's the power of connection. It turns habits from private struggles into shared victories. Here's your challenge. Build one relationship this week that serves your growth. Start with the soft ask. Message someone you admire and say, "I'd love to learn from your perspective." Invite a colleague for lunch to brainstorm ideas. Call a family member and share a story from your day, not just the challenges, but the wins. And if you're struggling to find people, remember, community grows when you plant the seeds. Join a class, volunteer for a cause, or post in a forum where your passion lives. The right people will gravitate toward your energy. You see, here's the final truth we're walking away with today. Your success is not a solo mission. The most effective people I know aren't necessarily the smartest or the hardest working. They're the ones who've mastered the alchemy of human connection. They're the ones who show up early to relationships, who ask, "How can I help?" before "What do I need?" and who create environments where habits flourish because people matter. As you close this chapter, I want you to imagine this: a world where every interaction is charged with purpose, where your phone buzzes not just with updates, but with meaningful exchanges that challenge, support, and inspire you. That world isn't a fantasy. It's yours to build. Start today, because when you invest in relationships, you don't just build a network, you build a legacy. Now, who will you connect with next? Chapter 7. Staying Resilient in Changing Times. You know what they say about life, right? That it's the only thing that keeps giving, even when it's throwing curveballs, hurricanes, and the occasional cliffhanger. Change is the only constant, and yet so many of us spend our days acting like it's not. But here's the truth I want to drill into your mind. Resilience isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Let me tell you a story about Sarah, a woman who lived that truth. 3 years ago, Sarah was thriving as a marketing manager for a mid-sized tech firm. She had a great salary, a team she loved, and a 5-year plan that looked shiny and certain. Then the pandemic hit. Overnight, her company downsized. She was let go, her team scattered, and her 5-year plan turned into a question mark. But here's what Sarah didn't do. She didn't panic. She didn't let the uncertainty paralyze her. Instead, she made a choice. She decided to embrace this disruption as a reboot and not a roadblock. You see, Sarah had already built resilience into her life as a habit. Let me show you how. First, she leaned into habit flexibility. She knew that clinging to routines would trap her in stagnation. So she paused the 7 a.m. coffee run and the Monday morning gym check-ins, not because she didn't like them, but because she needed mental space to pivot. She spent weeks researching the shifting market, upskilling in digital marketing, and networking with people in emerging industries. But here's the key. She didn't abandon her habits entirely. She adapted them. Her old habit of journaling every morning became a habit of setting daily intentions for her reinvention. Her evening meditation turned into a reflection on what she'd learned that day. She wasn't rigid. She was responsive. And that's the first secret to resilience: habit flexibility. Highly effective people don't have rigid systems. They have adaptive ones. Think of your habits as a living thing, not a cage. When life shakes up the game, you adjust the strategy. Maybe your usual 4-hour workday gets compressed into 3 hours because of a new project. Maybe your weekly meeting moves from Friday to Tuesday. Let your habits evolve. The core of what matters: growth, progress, connection. Those things stay. But how you do them, that's open for improvement. Now here's the second thing Sarah did. She refused to let stress become her co-pilot. When you're navigating uncertainty, stress is inevitable. But it doesn't have to be a passenger in the front seat. Sarah started practicing stress management as a discipline. She didn't wait for calm to return. Instead, she created calm. She built new rituals: a 5-minute breathing exercise before checking emails, power walks during lunch, and a reset hour every evening where she disconnected completely. She also leaned on her support system. She didn't white-knuckle it. She reached out to friends, mentors, and even a coach who helped her stay grounded. The result? She wasn't derailed by self-doubt or burnout. She stayed sharp, focused, and available for the opportunities that came her way. But here's the third and most powerful thing she did. She anchored herself in purpose. Sarah didn't ask, "How do I get back to where I was?" She asked, "What bigger mission have I missed so far?" She realized that her marketing expertise could help small businesses thrive in the digital age. That became her North Star. When days got tough, when applications were rejected, when self-doubt crept in, she remembered why she was playing this game: to create value, not just chase a paycheck. Purpose is the ultimate resilience tool. It turns setbacks into setups for comebacks. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what is your purpose? Not the vague, "I want to be happy" kind. I mean the deep, primal why that shows up in your gut when everything's shaken loose. Are you here to lead others? To build something lasting? To serve communities? To leave the world smarter or more connected? Write it down. Keep it in view. That's the fuel that will carry you through the unknown. Let me give you another example. Take the company Netflix. When DVDs started falling out of favor, they didn't double down on their mail order model. They didn't blame customers for not wanting to wait for a disc in the mail. They pivoted. They rewired their business around streaming, years before most people even had high-speed internet. That's resilience in action. That's the difference between a company that survives and a company that thrives in the face of disruption. But here's what many miss. Resilience isn't about superhuman strength. It's about building a muscle. You don't become a marathoner overnight. You train. You build endurance. So today, I challenge you to treat resilience like a practice. Start small. Ask yourself, what habits can I tweak this week to better serve my evolving path? What stress management tool can I experiment with? Journaling. A midday stretch? A no-screen hour before bed? And most importantly, can I take 5 minutes right now to reconnect with what you truly value? Maybe it's family. Maybe it's learning. Maybe it's making a difference. Let that be the compass for your changes. Change isn't the enemy, it's the catalyst. Every disruption is a door to reinvention. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. So when the next storm hits, when the ground shifts beneath you, don't just survive. Emerge. Remember Sarah. Remember Netflix. Remember that resilience is a choice you make every day. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need certainty. You just need to show up, adapt, and keep moving forward. So what are you waiting for? Dance in the rain. Let the storm sharpen you. Chapter 8. Breaking Bad Habits and Replacing Them. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a habit you wanted to break and felt trapped, like a hamster spinning on a wheel, desperately hoping one day the wheel would stop? You're not alone. Every one of us, at some point, clings to a habit we know is holding us back. Maybe it's scrolling mindlessly through your phone instead of connecting with loved ones, procrastinating until the last minute, or using food to numb stress. Whatever it is, let me be clear. You are not your habits. You are the author of your life, and right now, I'm about to hand you the pen. Breaking bad habits isn't about willpower alone, it's about strategy. It's about understanding that habits are like software running in the background of your brain, unseen but powerful. And just as you can install new software, you can reprogram your habits. But first, you must name the monster. Let me tell you about my friend Carlos. 3 years ago, Carlos was a workaholic, so consumed by his career that he'd sacrifice sleep, relationships, and his health for a promotion. He'd lie awake at night, mentally preparing for the next day's deadlines instead of resting. Sound familiar? Carlos knew this habit was destroying him, but he couldn't stop. Every time he tried to power down, his brain screamed, "You're failing if you aren't working." Carlos didn't quit overnight. He didn't wake up one day and magically love sleeping 8 hours. He did something smarter. He used awareness triggers to notice when his workaholic habit kicked in. He bought a small plant for his desk that he vowed to water only after finishing his daily tasks. Watering the plant became a ritual, a physical reminder that his work time had a clear end. When the urge to overwork crept in, he'd glance at the plant and ask, "Am I working because I'm productive or because I'm afraid of stopping?" That simple question created space between impulse and action. That's the first step, awareness. You can't change a habit until you see it clearly. Start tracking your habits in a journal or a voice note. Ask yourself, when does this habit happen? What thoughts, emotions, or environments trigger it? For example, do you reach for that 4th cup of coffee when stress rises? Do you mindlessly watch TV after arguing with a loved one? Write it down. Name the cues. But awareness alone isn't enough. That's where habit substitution comes in. You can't just eliminate a habit, you must replace it with something better. Carlos didn't try to stop working late. Instead, he replaced his late-night work sessions with a new ritual. 5 minutes before off hours, he'd call his sister. She'd tease him about his daily wins, and they'd laugh about something trivial. Over time, that 5-minute call rewired his brain. The habit of reaching for work after sunset shifted to reaching for connection. Your job is to find a substitution that matches the emotional need of the old habit. If you scroll social media to numb boredom, try a quick walk outside. If you eat when lonely, call a friend. The key is not to battle the old habit, but to redirect the energy it's built up. Now let's talk about willpower, the most overrated and misused tool in the habit-changing toolkit. Willpower fades like sunlight. You don't have a limitless tank for it. I've seen people try to rely solely on sheer determination, only to crash and burn after a week. Instead, treat willpower like a negotiable ally. Use it strategically, when you're rested, when you're prepared, and when you've built systems that do the work for you. Take my friend Lena, a nurse who struggled with procrastination before her career. Every time she felt overwhelmed by nursing school, she'd watch hours of TV, promising herself, "I'll study later." But later never came. Then she realized her procrastination wasn't about laziness. It was a panic response to feeling unprepared. Instead of forcing herself to study with sheer willpower, which always backfired, she redesigned her study sessions to build confidence first. She'd spend 5 minutes organizing her notes into digestible chunks, then commit to just 20 minutes of focused work. The small, structured plan made studying feel manageable. Over time, her willpower didn't have to be the hero. The strategy became the hero. Here's the mindset shift. You're not trying to become perfect. You're trying to become adaptable. Breaking a habit isn't about never slipping up again. It's about getting back up faster. When Carlos watered his plant the night after a late work session, he didn't punish himself. He thanked himself for trying. That gratitude became a habit itself. Let me leave you with this story. A few months ago, I spoke with a woman named Maya who used to smoke cigarettes when anxious. She'd tried every quit method, nicotine patches, cold turkey, even hypnotherapy. Nothing stuck. Then she did something radical. She bought a bag of gourmet coffee, brewed it in her favorite mug, and vowed to sip it slowly every time she felt the urge to smoke. The coffee didn't eliminate her stress, but it gave her hands something to do, her senses something to enjoy. Within 3 months, she forgot about the cigarettes. My friend, your bad habits are not your identity. That late-night scroll, that impatience, that self-criticism, they're just routines that formed accidentally. What if you replace them with something that healed, connected, or inspired you? This is your moment to say, I am more than my current habits. I choose to rewrite my story. So take one habit to change this week. Start small. Water a plant. Call a sibling. Brew a cup of coffee. And when you stumble, because you will, stand up, smile, and say, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. That's the real power of breaking bad habits. It's the daily reminder that you're capable of anything. I love stories about breakthroughs. But today, I want to talk about something even more powerful. The quiet, steady victories that happen long before the breakthrough. The moment you decide to track your progress and learn to celebrate every single step forward, that's where transformation begins. Because let me tell you a truth I've seen time and time again. Growth isn't about arriving at some flawless destination. It's about showing up day after day and honoring the work it takes to get there. Let me share a story with you. A few years ago, I met a woman named Sarah. She'd always dreamed of learning to play the guitar. But she kept putting it off, saying, I don't have time, or I'm not musical. Finally, she decided to try. She bought a beginner's guitar, downloaded an app, and vowed to practice 15 minutes a day. But here's what really changed her journey. She started tracking. Every evening, she opened a simple journal and wrote 3 things. What did I learn today? What did I struggle with? What am I proud of? At first, her entries were things like, still can't form a C chord, or my fingers hurt after 5 minutes. But then, something shifted. She began noticing patterns. She saw that on days she practiced in the morning, she learned faster. She realized that celebrating tiny wins, like mastering a single chord change, gave her more energy to keep going. Within 6 months, she was playing songs she'd never imagined. And you know what she told me? Tracking my progress didn't just help me improve. It reminded me why I started. Every checkmark in that journal was a proof of courage. This, my friend, is the power of tracking. It's not about perfection. It's about paying attention to the process. Think of your habits like a garden. If you're not checking the soil, not noticing which seeds are sprouting and which ones need more light, how will you ever grow something extraordinary? Whether it's a habit tracker app, a physical journal, or even a whiteboard in your kitchen, the act of recording your wins, no matter how small, fuels momentum. Because here's the secret. The brain doesn't reward vague effort. It rewards specific progress. Now let's talk about milestones. You've probably heard the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But here's the truth. Without markers along the way, that journey becomes overwhelming. Break down your big goals into chunks you can actually see and measure. If your goal is to write a book, don't just write, finish the book by next year. Instead, create weekly milestones. 500 words on Monday, an outline by Friday, a chapter draft completed by Sunday. When you hit each one, celebrate. I mean that. Dancing in your living room, buying yourself a new pen, sharing your win with someone you trust. Celebrations aren't selfish. They're fuel. A Navy SEAL once told me, "After every mission, we spend 20 minutes celebrating the small things we did right." It's the only way we remember why we keep showing up. But here's where many of us trip up. We set up for failure by waiting for the big win. We tell ourselves, "I won't feel proud until I lose 20 pounds," or "I won't call this a success until I've meditated every day for a year." That's a dangerous game. Perfectionism is a thief. It steals the joy from the grind and convinces you that only the end result matters. But what if I told you that the little wins are the real magic? What if your success looks less like a finale and more like a lifelong rhythm of progress? Let me challenge you right now. For the next week, pick one habit you want to strengthen and track it. Not in your head, out in the open. Write it down. Use a simple system, maybe a calendar where you color in a square each day, or 3 Post-it notes you cross off. And every evening, pause for a minute to acknowledge what worked. Did you wake up at 6 a.m. for your workout? Celebrate. Did you read 10 pages of a book? Celebrate. Did you resist the urge to scroll your phone for an hour when you meant to cook dinner? That's a win. Honor it. I'll be real with you. This is hard. Our culture has trained us to wait for permission from the world to recognize our progress. But guess what? You are the CEO of your motivation, no one else. When you take control of how you measure success, you take control of your energy. You stop depending on external validation and start building a habit of noticing your own strength. So let's talk action. Go into tomorrow with a plan. Choose a tracking tool that makes your heart say, "Yes, that's my kind of system." It could be a digital app like Habit Tracker or Trello, or something old school like a bullet journal. The tool doesn't matter. Consistency does. And then, when you hit a milestone, no matter how tiny, pause. Let yourself feel the pride, because that feeling, it's going to carry you through the days when it's hard. Remember Sarah, the guitarist? Last month, she sent me a video of herself performing a song in front of a crowd. And when she finished, she looked directly into the camera and said, "I used to think I wasn't good enough, but I learned that growth is just a bunch of small things done one after another." So today I ask you, what will you track? What will you celebrate? Because I'm not promising you'll wake up overnight as someone completely transformed. That's not how this works. I'm promising you that if you show up day after day, you'll look back and wonder how you ever doubted yourself. Start small. Track boldly. Celebrate relentlessly. And watch how the compounding effect of your wins becomes the life you once only dared to imagine. You've traveled a long journey with us through the art of mastering priorities, the courage of a growth mindset, the power of routines, and the discipline of breaking bad habits. Now, in this final chapter, we arrive at the most profound destination of all, synthesizing all these practices into a lifestyle that reflects your highest self. This isn't just about checking boxes or following a formula. It's about creating a life that feels authentic, sustainable, and deeply aligned with your values. Let me tell you a story about someone I admire deeply. Her name is Maria, a single mother of 2 working a demanding job, yet she achieved a balance that inspired everyone around her. Years ago, Maria was overwhelmed, cramming work deadlines, guilt, and exhaustion into every hour. She tried fads, quick fixes, and even burned out trying to do it all. But one day, she realized something powerful. Her habits were not a collection of random actions. They were a reflection of the life she longed to live. So she began to ask herself, what kind of person do I want to be, not just what do I want to achieve? That question became her compass. Maria started small. She reimagined her morning routine, Chapter 3, not as a rush to get out the door, but as a sacred time to connect with her children, breathe, and set intentions. She applied her time management strategies, Chapter 5, but instead of maxing out her schedule, she carved out space for what truly mattered. When setbacks came, like the time she spilled coffee on an important report, her growth mindset, Chapter 2, reminded her, this is not a failure, it's a chance to adapt. Over time, her habits became her identity. Her home buzzed with energy, calm, and purpose. This is the essence of synthesis, transforming isolated habits into a cohesive tapestry of meaning. You see, the most effective people don't just do things differently. They live differently. Their routines aren't about control. They're about alignment. So how do you bridge the gap between good habits and a values-driven lifestyle? Let's break it down into 3 pillars. First, consistency, not rigidity. Consistency is your ally, but let me caution you, it is not your enemy. A rigid system will shatter under pressure. A flexible one will bend and grow. Think of your habits like a river. They flow. They adapt around rocks, but they always move forward. When Maria's son started soccer practice, she adjusted her schedule but didn't abandon her goals. She shifted her focused work blocks to evenings, trusting that progress isn't linear. So ask yourself, what habits are non-negotiable for me? How can I honor them while staying agile? Second, personalization over perfection. I'll never forget the lesson from a man named James, a CEO who once prided himself on waking up at 4 a.m. for meditation. One day his doctor told him he had a heart condition. Waking up at dawn left him exhausted. His body was screaming, "This isn't working." Instead of giving up, James redefined his morning. He started meditating at noon, when his energy peaked. His productivity didn't drop, it soared. Your habits must be tailored to your unique rhythm. What works for someone else isn't a template. It's a source of inspiration. Ask yourself, what does my body, mind, and soul need to thrive? Then build your system around that. Third, progress through reflection. Synthesis requires awareness. Set aside 15 minutes each week to review your habits, not to judge yourself, but to celebrate and recalibrate. Did your time-blocking strategy, Chapter 5, help you complete projects? What can you tweak? Did your evening routine, Chapter 3, leave you more at peace? Or did it feel like a chore? Use your wins as fuel and your stumbles as clues. Remember, a habit is only worth keeping if it moves you closer to your vision of life. Here's your challenge. Audit your habits this week. Write them down. Now ask. 1. Do these habits serve my core values? 2. Are they sustainable even in a week of chaos? 3. Do they make me feel more like myself, or am I trying to be someone else? When you align your actions with your identity, everything changes. Let me close with a metaphor. Imagine your life as a symphony. Each chapter of this book is an instrument. The violin of morning routines, the drum beat of time management, the flute of learning, the rhythm of relationships. A brilliant conductor doesn't make every instrument play the same note. They let them harmonize. This is your moment to step into the role of conductor. Let your habits not be a cacophony of tasks, but a symphony of intention. You may not get it perfect. There will be off-key moments, missed notes. That's okay. The goal is not to play flawlessly. It's to play genuinely. I want you to visualize yourself a year from now. You're living that values-driven,